Every growing organization and every growing ministry finds itself at some point, maybe at many points in its history, with a leadership shortage. In order to solve that leadership shortage, we start by identifying not leaders, but identifying potential leaders that we can work with and get them on a leadership track or in a leadership pipeline at some point. It starts with identification, identifying calling, identifying opportunities, identifying needs, and finding those people who can potentially be in leadership positions. Once we've identified the right people, then comes instruction. Ignorant leader is an oxymoron. Leaders are learners. Leaders have to be continuous learners. And so we identify, we instruct, and now we come to the most elusive part of the leadership multiplication process, and that is impartation. While instruction is focused primarily on informing the mind, impartation is focused primarily on transforming the heart. Theologian, philosopher, physician Albert Schweitzer said this: "In everyone's life at some time, our inner fire goes out. It is then burst into flame by an encounter with another human being. We should be thankful for these people who rekindle the inner spirit." He didn't use the word impartation, but when Schweitzer talked about that, everyone, no matter what a great leader they might be and no matter how passionate they are, at some point that fire sort of dwindles out and sort of goes out. But it's ignited, reignited by an encounter with another person. I think we've all experienced having passion from someone else imparted to us, having something that we weren't really that excited about, but we got around someone who was, and then it changed our view, it changed our actions. Paul talked about this in his letter to the Roman church. Paul at this point had never been to Rome. He had never actually met any of these Roman believers. But here's what he said in Romans chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. "For I long to see you, that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to strengthen you. That is, that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine." And so while Paul had never seen these people, he was able to instruct them from a distance. Even the letter of Romans was a letter of theological instruction. And so instruction can happen from a distance. Instruction can happen without ever meeting the person. Instruction can actually happen from people who have long been dead. We read their books they left behind and we're instructed. So instruction doesn't require proximity, relationship, but impartation seems to require a close proximity. Impartation seems to not be done from a distance, but require some type of relationship, some type of closeness. Paul said, "I can't wait to see you, to be face to face in the same room with you, that I can impart something." So impartation is face to face, it's close, it's relational. It also brings strength. And he said, "I want to impart spiritual gifts to make you strong." And so sometimes what's needed, we've gotten the instruction, we know the truth, but we get around other people, impartation happens, and there's a new strength that comes on us. And that's what Paul was saying. I want to impart these spiritual gifts into your life. You know, we're reminded in Timothy where Paul told Timothy to remember that the spiritual gifts in you came through the laying on of the hands of the elders and the apostles. And there's that laying on of hands, there's that impartation, there's the close proximity. You can't lay on hands through emails and through letters sent like Paul did. You can instruct that way, but we have to have that closeness to have an impartation. I can think about times in my life when I've been around a great evangelist. I am evangelistically challenged, but there's an impartation, and I have this evangelistic infusion into my life that unfortunately doesn't last forever, but there's a season of that. I get around prophetic people, and while I'm not prophetic, there's an impartation oftentimes. And I think we've all experienced that. So we want to develop leaders. It's not just identify the right person, get the right instruction mechanisms in their lives, but there comes that close proximity. There are things that can only come through relationships, things that can only come through what the scripture calls in Hebrews one of the foundations of our faith, which is the laying on of hands, to impart spiritual gifts, to impart strength that is so essential for next levels of leadership.